Hello, dear friends. My name is Alexey Ognev, and I'm the CEO of the DigiU ecosystem. Today, we are having another webinar. We will talk about our venture capital fund and its development and plans. We will also talk about the next project, which we have been looking at closely and for quite a long time, as a potential project for our venture capital fund. We decided to introduce you to this project in advance, which differs from what we did with Binaryx. When our window of opportunity opened, we created emergency broadcast and urgently told you about the opportunity we had before us to invest in the Binaryx project. This time, we'll gradually introduce you to the new project, providing an overview of how we plan to enter it. What specifics arise in venture capital investing? Not in blockchain-related projects, where there are tokens that everyone understands and some simple tools to invest, but in a classic venture capital project, when the investment goes right into a company. Of course, there are difficulties and certain issues with the legal structuring of the deal. There are quite a few such issues. We are going to talk about how we solve problems, what we encounter, why we do things this way and not in a different way, and what prompts us to do so. Well, we will talk about what we are allowed, about what is not commercially confidential, and so on. But we always try to keep our audience informed as much as possible, so that you can develop together with us, improve your skills and knowledge, and watch virtually live how the venture capital fund is created, how it invests, which projects become successful, and which projects don't. And this is normal for venture capital funds, because it's enough for one or two projects to return the entire investment, to make the fund profitable. And that profit is distributed to investors in the DigiU ecosystem. So, let's get started. Today, in part 1, we are going to talk a little bit about our venture capital fund. I will explain to our new investors what it is about and its focus, what investments have already been made, in which projects, and which are yet to come. We will discuss the new project, probably an introduction so everyone can dive in gradually. We will have Alexander E., the head of our venture capital fund, as a guest speaker. He will also express his opinion and share his point of view about why we decided to consider this project and include it in our venture capital fund and look for opportunities to make this deal, these agreements, and of course, make money from it. All of this is waiting for you at this webinar. We are recording it, so if you have questions live, ask them either in the broadcast on YouTube or, which is probably better and more appropriate, in our official Telegram channels. There is an English language channel and a Russian language channel on Telegram. If you are not subscribed, make sure you do. We will quickly answer all your questions during the webinar, and I may even be there live. So, let's begin. The DigiU Ecosystem Venture Capital Fund is the unit that was launched and has been in our ecosystem since the beginning. The only difference is that the venture capital fund was focused on internal development in the beginning. And as soon as some idea, technology, and minimal viable product appeared, we passed it on to the venture capital fund and raised the money. For example, the idea for AVA, a cross-chain data protocol, went through the entire cycle. First, the idea appeared in our blockchain lab, and then we attended several hackathons with the idea. We won prizes and realized the idea was valid. It could be a commercially successful product and had enormous potential. Finally, a team was assembled, and a minimal viable product appeared. That's when the DigiU Ecosystem Venture Capital Fund got involved and invested $1 million. thus kickstarting the development of the AVA project. Since then, AVA is a standalone product. As a venture capital fund and smart money, we were interested in the project's success and provided the necessary support. What is happening now with the AVA project is an example of an ideal situation where the fund saw an idea at the start. We saw the team that can implement this idea. We received some additional confirmation, expertise and demand. We studied the market and made an investment, made that bet. And now, after 2 years, the AVA project has an incredible reputation and connections. It is coming out. And at the time of this webinar, it has already launched commercially. It's supposed to take place from one day to another. That's why the world media, such as Forbes, Bloomberg, and so on, they write about us. So this is an excellent example of how several stages go from an idea to a project. The idea originated in the technical part of our ecosystem, and the venture capital fund raised money there and sent the project on its way. So then our task is to make sure more such products are in our ecosystem. How to achieve this? Firstly, to look not only inside of our ecosystem, but also outside, because only with this approach can we ensure the competitiveness of our ecosystem. The IT market is rapidly evolving, and we cannot develop everything on our own. Thanks to our expertise, the Artificial Intelligence Lab and the Blockchain Lab, our goal is to see those trends that will be in demand in a year, 2, 3, or maybe 10 years, and to make decisions, what to do with them. We develop it ourselves, create a team, bring in specialists, and go from the beginning to the product. Or we look for a product on the market. We invest in it at early stages, at the lowest possible valuation. We get the best possible terms. We obtain the opportunity to use technology and enter the project as a venture capital fund. And part of this project becomes part of our ecosystem. And every holder of the DigiU ecosystem shares owns this project, its successes, and all the events that take place there. And of course, as a venture capital fund, we aim to make money from each project. And according to statistics, not invented by us, but were established in the history of venture capital funds, you need to do more than 30 deals, from 30 to 300, to guarantee success. So the probability of success is 100%. Then, the probability of increasing investments by 3, 4, and 10 times tends to be almost 100%. Obviously, you have to be an expert in the field in which you are investing. And we've chosen the areas of artificial intelligence, blockchain, and other modern technologies, related technologies, which are close to both artificial intelligence and blockchain, and therefore are developing in parallel with them. These are the areas in which we are investing. The first project was the AVA project. The second project was Binarix. And we are now approaching project number 3. Before I introduce it, I want to remind you that at our annual conference, which we have in December, at the third conference, we announced a goal that we would invest in 3 to 5 projects in 2023. And therefore, we are following this plan. Now is the 5th month of this year, and we are already approaching our second deal. The first is Binarix, which you all know about. And now we have almost decided and are completing some main activities with the next project. And, as we said, this project will primarily be related to artificial intelligence. This project doesn't involve a token, and it doesn't directly involve a blockchain in its structure. It's a project from a classic venture. And before I introduce this project and start talking about it, it's essential to remind you that we have reached the venture capital fund stage in our ecosystem. This unit has come to the fore since the beginning of this year. We are actively developing it and raising funding there through the sales of our shares. And because of this, all the holders of the shares are co-owners of all the venture capital funds projects. And this is the unit that is supposed to add speed to the development of our ecosystem. Of course, our venture capital fund operates according to the classic standards of any venture capital fund. The task is to find a project, to invest in it at an early stage, and, in the later stages of the development of that project, to exit it with a profit. This is part of our ecosystem responsible for money and profit. And the focus of our ecosystem during these 3 years, when the venture capital fund will be in the foreground, will certainly have to do with finance, attraction, proper investment, and profit making. Everyone who owns our shares, watches our webinars, and promotes the project should know this. Let me remind you that the goal is to make more than 30 deals between the years 23 and 25, raise capital for the fund, and invest $50 million using that capital. These are the goals we have set and defined. And these are the goals we are successfully moving towards, and are currently ahead of schedule. So, I think it's time to introduce the project. And, as I said, this project is directly related to artificial intelligence. And we are pleased that this project has to do with digitization, with the visual digitization of the human visual image. I think many of you have already seen this project, and this project is called Spirit Me. We talked about it several times last year. Many of you have seen my digital avatar, which I created in a few minutes last year in this studio, and which I am now applying in various life situations, demonstrating at conferences, and so on. It took a few years after we noticed this project, began to study it, watched the team, and held the first calls. I want to remind you that the funnel that the project enters into our venture capital fund is quite serious. So, first of all, our task is to understand which areas we want to invest in. This is the first thing. Then, we start looking for projects in these areas. Sometimes we consult with larger venture capital funds and have been following someone for a long time. Our task is not to invest in an idea, so we invest not in a fantasy of a person who can change the world, but in a specific working technology, preferably at the very early stage of its development. But when there is already a team, when there is a minimum product, when there is preferably some traction, and when there is a team who can bring that project to the next round of investment or commercial operation. And our task is to provide not only funding, but also our expertise, our understanding of the market, and our connections to guarantee this project's success. So, we've been following this project since last year. I think since the middle of the year. I created the avatar in June or July 2022. We talked about it at the conferences we held. Then there were webinars with Peter, where he shared his views on the project. And so, all this time, we've been watching them. And it's important to understand that when you first notice a project, you have to look at how it has changed. 8 months have passed, and we've made several more calls with the team. We checked what they had done in that period and how they handled difficulties. How many improvements have been made, how the problems we saw from our side last year were solved, and how the team managed to cope with them, whether there is any development at all. And when we realized that the team was developing, that it had significantly improved its product quality, could show some traction, and already had some number of users, sometimes even regular users. That means the investment risk for our fund decreased with the time the team was developing this project. And of course, after further consideration of all sorts of technical, legal, and other things, we decided to recommend this project for investment. And we managed to negotiate an investment with a $6 million valuation in this project, with the possibility of further increasing our investment. Unfortunately, we won't be able to give any more details now. Perhaps we will in the future, because only some things can be said now. So, we cannot discuss the amount of money or details of the agreement. Maybe we will come back to them in the future, but that is not what we are talking about now. Now, it is important to fix the valuation at which we are entering. It's a valuation of $6 million. And therefore, the project itself. I think we will now put the project's logo and website on the screen. You can go there during this webinar, but I think it's better to do it afterwards. And in fact, after watching this webinar, each of you can create your own digital avatar right there. On this website, you can download the app and digitize yourself. The app is only available on iPhone. Some models might be limited if you use other phones, but that's not the point. Now, you can already start slowly learning about this product. And this is especially important for those who are promoting the ecosystem and for those who are interested in modern technology. In other words, SpiritMe technology makes it easy to digitize a person's visual image in 3 or 4 minutes and then use it immediately for whatever purpose you define for yourself. Maybe after a while, these webinars, these live events, will be hosted entirely by my digital avatar. And I will just have to write a text for this webinar, or dictate it. And my voice, in several languages, will broadcast this webinar. First of all, it's also incredibly convenient for me, so I will have a significant amount of time left over. And the webinars will always be of good quality, from a professional studio, as you can see now, and not from the road conditions I sometimes find myself in. And a lot of other opportunities are opening up. I think we will announce some kind of contest soon and draw some paid digital avatars. And the winners can create them for free. And we will announce some kind of contest for the best application of this technology. The SpiritMe team has recently shared with us their successes. About 20,000 people have already tried this technology. There is a great demand from those who create content, because it facilitates content creation. There are some standard avatars. In other words, this product already allows businesses and individuals to use their resources more efficiently without spending money on shooting, without spending money on translations, and at the same time, constantly generating quality content. What else we have noted in the period since we first saw the product and when we already decided to invest? The technology has improved considerably, and the ability to create emotion, to add some emotional coloring, has been added. And compared to competitors, and we also studied them, this technology works much better, which is also very good. It is important to understand that we are planning to make the deal in June, maybe at the beginning of the month, or at the end of May. The point is that we will share this with you, because there are specific difficulties when you are investing in a non-blockchain company. The challenge is properly structuring the deal, and we are getting to that now. Well, we are doing everything we can to make it happen. Most importantly, We are investing at the earliest possible stage. The project you see before your eyes and can experience on your own, you can create your digital, virtual prototype and use it in several languages. At the moment, the project has a valuation of only $6 million. And we are entering it at this valuation, which means that in the next rounds, the capitalization of our investment could grow considerably. Now, I would like to give the floor to Alexander E. so he can give his opinion and share how he was motivated and what he sees as the potential of this project. Good afternoon, dear partners, investors and colleagues. If we are talking about the Spirit Me project, we have been following the project for several months. We have had talks and phone calls on many occasions, and we find out what progress the project has made. One of the founders has already moved to the USA, and the guys have started the company in there. They have greatly improved the technical part. Now we understand that they have big plans. Technical expertise was done with the help of our technical team. And based on the results of the technical expertise, it was decided that the solutions the team uses are reasonable and promising. No one will give you any guarantee, because it is, after all, a startup. But it looks reasonable and promising, given all the technologies that are now developing and improving. So now is a great time to invest at an early stage, out of the valuation of $6 million. We are solving the legal issues of making this deal right to make a payment to an American company. We are now solving this case for the first time, consulting both with other venture capital funds and with legal contractors, our consultants. And of course, we see the potential. I mean, the last time we talked to the project, it was already in operation, meaning that it was already generating some profit, some kind of money. So their number of users is already growing. And they are analyzing these users. And having analyzed them, they've seen that a significant proportion of users, out of a few thousand, a few dozen, turned out to be marketing agencies. They were surprised. They started making calls with them to find out what they were using for. And it turned out that they were using them to create promotional content. Because it's expensive to do video footage all the time. And you have to involve at least one person. Because once you record content, for example for a week, it can be broken down into videos. And that's enough for 1 week. And this content has to be created regularly. In other words, these non-obvious segments, non-obvious target audiences are now emerging. Obviously, there is a demand from some educational institutions, from universities to online schools. Large companies with, for example, internal training or HR departments, with many documents that need to be studied, have a big demand. For example, all this can be modified into video or audio format, which is perceived and absorbed much better. And personal avatars of bloggers who are just starting. For innovators who want to be on trend and demonstrate the technologies. They all use it. And we are going to give our partners that opportunity too. So we see that this technology could enter our lives everywhere on the horizon of 3 to 5 years. In the same way, for example, Uber or taxis can be ordered through an app. And now it is a standard in most countries, and we are used to it. But it was less common even 5 or 7 years ago. I think it is one of the technologies which can, just like ordering a taxi, like delivering food, come into our lives and be used in many places, basically everywhere. For example, in shop windows, where digital avatars will be at the hotel reception or somewhere else, in medical institutions, and so on. Now, it is difficult to say where and how it will be used precisely. But this trend is happening, and many people are experimenting. They are trying to use it somehow, and these technologies will likely improve and develop. Thank you. We thank Alexander for what he has just shared. I would encourage you to listen carefully to what he says, because the man is on the cutting edge of venture investing. He talks to projects. He sees everything from the inside, and he sees how it happens. And accordingly, he knows the specifics very well. Therefore, everyone who wants to develop and understand this and everything, make sure you listen carefully to what we broadcast at webinars and what Alexander says explicitly. If you have any questions, you can always ask them in our chats and address them to Alexander. And you can develop this topic with us and on your own, because it's exciting. And it's important to grasp this fundamental idea. If you know where funds invest now, if you see these technologies, if you follow us and other funds, well, first of all, other funds, and then us, because we are a startup fund. Well, then you can already predict the technological future, the areas that will be in demand in 5, 7, or 10 years, with a certain degree of probability. Because for venture capital funds, the planning horizon is about 3 to 7 years, and our company is focused on 5 to 7 years. The bottom line is, those products that are invested in now will be at their peak in this period. So you can more or less predict areas. You can focus on your education, your children's education, and some features of your life, and plan everything based on that. It is clear that the forecast may be different, but it becomes much more interesting to look at the world when you know this information. That is why I urge everyone to study this market together with us and on your own. This is what is important to understand. Then you will understand our project better and build your life with these changes in mind. And where funds invest is always a very precise direction. It determines the course of the economy, technology, and as a result, of human life. We have now presented you with this product, in which we plan to make our next investment. Your goal is for some time, even right now, after the webinar, you can create your avatar, or you can start exploring the project. Download the application on your phone, share this application, and do the digitization process. Then, after some time, we will add all the information to your personal account, and you can study the project in one way or another. Store your avatars, or use them somehow in your DigiU account as well. But you already have time to prepare for this. Study the field, study the market, and create your own avatar. In other words, everything is already working. The better you know the technologies in which the venture capital fund of which your co-owners invest, the better you will both promote the project, see the potential of our ecosystem, and make decisions about increasing the portfolio, and so on and so forth. And I will remind you that all of this is just the beginning. This is only the third venture capital fund project. And ahead of us, this year, we will have several more investments in robotics and possibly neuro interfaces. We are considering projects in these promising areas. So everything will gradually move forward. At the end of the webinar, I encourage everyone to go to the website right now and create your digital avatar and see how it works. If you have an iPhone, please do so. I think we will do some interview with the Spirit Me team in June, just like we did with the Binaryx team. And then, of course, the technology will become more apparent to you. But to make it more straightforward, you need to do these activities now and prepare yourself. Ask some questions that interest you, and so on. Start forming your attitude to this technology. Generate ideas of how these products are applied, and then apply them in your activities. Because I know that there are bloggers and content creators among our partners and investors. You can already create some content with digital avatars in several languages of the world, which are available in this product. And sometimes you can even digitize a language, like I did with English. The possibilities are endless. The deeper you dive in, the more you will see. At the end of the month, you will see an increase in the share price. This is all because both the Ava project is actively developing and going commercial, and the international media are writing about us. We discussed this in the last webinar with Alexander E. Make sure to check it out if you still haven't watched it. And now, we presented the next venture capital fund project. The company, and indeed the DigiU ecosystem, is developing rapidly. And, as I said before, the venture capital fund is the unit that was supposed to add speed. And it is successfully doing it now. And Ava is now going commercial. New projects are appearing. And we are developing and attracting funding. And this is what makes investing in our ecosystem more secure and less risky. So every investor in the DigiU ecosystem and those who promote this ecosystem should know this. After I finish and say goodbye to you, we are going to put some videos about the Spirit Me project. So stay connected and watch them. I thank you for today's meeting. Take care of yourselves and have a good day.
Look what I'm doing. Dynamic. Facial expressions. A friendly smile is an important capability when you're communicating something. So is a display of sincere amusement. Our competitors generate the lower part of the jaw. But we generate the whole head and thus can control the whole face.